you better. So why don't you go ahead and get started for everybody? And that is his QR code. If you want to scan his thing, it's up to him.
Yeah, scan that one. Yeah. That's my direct communication. It's got my website and everything on there. Can you just give me a glimpse, if you could, of the
Oh,
folks
sorry,
I'm talking to?
you're not seeing the room.
There we
Okay.
go. How are we doing? Eating some pizza, getting some drinks. That's awesome. The creative juices. How you doing? Right on, right on. So, introduction. My name is Seth Anderson. I am a transactional lender located all the way in Oregon State. So, yeah, it's about 4:40 where I'm at. Just getting off work, picking up the kids, and gonna make some macaroni and cheese for dinner. But yeah, so transactional lender. Anybody by the raise of your hand know what a transactional lender does, or ever heard of one? One, maybe
No.
two. Transactional lending is exactly how it sounds. We lend to the transaction. We don't lend to a certain party, but we lend to the transaction to make the transaction ultimately flow and close. The two main types of lending that I do, the only two main types of lending that I do, is earnest money deposits and also double closings. My typical borrowers are more times than not wholesalers that reach out to me and want me to fund their EMD deposits. $1,000 here, $5,000 there, whatever. Yeah, we fund that, and that way, if you're a wholesaler that's got their business dialed in or want to help scale their business to do more deals and more workflow, having an EMD lender is essential to that, because you never have to worry about running out of money or not having capital to deploy to lock in contracts for you to wholesale. The double closings, you guys are in Pennsylvania. I understand that there's some legislation that was passed recently that isn't very wholesale friendly. And that makes lenders like myself paramount for the future. My first double closing was in Pennsylvania, in fact, and we were able to knock it out. Double closing is essentially just a way to continue to wholesale, and also it helps you. It essentially is a workaround if you don't have your license or have that new legislation prohibiting you from continuing to wholesale. And that's me in a nutshell. Yeah, I can answer any questions if you guys would like. If you have questions about the process, I'm happy to do that. 2bclosings.com is my website. Like I said, I'm very niche focused. EMD funding and double close funding is exactly what I do. And we fund quick. 2 weeks ago, I had a guy reach out to me on Thursday evenings, like, "Hey, Seth, I got a buddy of mine that needs $150,000 to double close one of his deals." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I could do that. When's the close date?" He said, "Tomorrow." So we can move quick, and we got it done that evening, or that next midday. Of course, we had to drop everything that we were doing at the time, but we were able to knock it out for him really, really quick. So, of course, we would like a little more notice, because we were able to have 150,000 extra dollars sitting around to deploy, and yeah, we were able to rock and roll for him. So we like at least maybe a week's notice, or like if it's going to be a Friday close, maybe a Monday or a Tuesday notice for us to communicate with title companies. Because honestly, in our business, the title company is essential. It can make or break your deal 100% and make your lives so much better.
So kind of walk us through a little bit about how the process goes, whether it's transactional or EMD, because and of course they're different. So I guess walk us through both processes. When does somebody know they need you? How do they know what to do, and how do they budget into their project to cover that? And again, you're talking to wholesalers who we've got several of them watching the live tape as well, who are very often new. They probably never bought something themselves, so they're kind of like, I caught a fish, now what?
Sure.
We've got 3 people right now watching who are not in Pennsylvania, so they're not subjected to the new law, but most of them are probably going to be facing something like it in the near future.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, essentially, I tell wholesalers, hey, utilize me as a tool for you to lock in your deals. And they're like, oh my gosh, I hear the light bulb moment in their voice. They're like, wow, yeah, that's awesome. I'm like, have you ever, been in a negotiation stalemate where, maybe a couple extra dollars of earnest money or skin in the game can help, push that deal across? And they're like, yeah, I wish I would have known you a long time ago, because we're haggling between $1,000 or $2,000. Man, I could offer $3,000 and blow them out of the water. Now typically, you reach out to me when you got that deal under contract, preferably just signed, and then I have roughly 3 days to deposit the earnest money. Through my website, you can fill out a form that lays out everything. Again, it's tobeclosings.com, and super user friendly. You just fill out an online form, name, address of the deal, email. You got to include the wire instructions for the title company, and also the PDF contract as well for me to review. Only stipulations are, I do not fund non-refundable EMD. A lot of times I get end buyers reaching out to me, and they want me to fund their EMD, but my EMD has to be paid out of usually the end buyer's funds. So I'm not saying we can't fund end buyer's EMD. It's just a low percentage that I do, because the majority of the business that I do is with wholesalers, and we can we lock in the EMD. It's protected throughout the due diligence period. Once the due diligence period is up, I'm either cashed out, or if there's like an additional 2 more weeks or whatnot, they just extend the due diligence period through closing. So my money's protected throughout the entire process. And if there's any last minute crazy things that happen, which in this business there is very much so, that my money will still be returned to me, no problem. And escrow has very specific instructions to do so in the event of a cancellation. So yeah, won't fund non-refundable EMD. I do charge a small upfront fee to do once the deal is approved. Now you can submit the deal, and if it just doesn't fit what our lending box, we say sorry, this isn't a good fit for what we do. I'm sure there's someone else out there that could fund something like that. So if it's denied, it just is denied. But once it's accepted and we can do the deal, we move it to the next step, and that's when you would pay my upfront fee of $250, and you could take that and just you could Zelle or whatnot, and there is a minimum. I'm funding some smaller EMDs right now, like $500 for here, $500 there. Um, I do have a minimum of like $1,000 return, because for what it takes to monitor the timeline, manage the transaction, from the EMDs from the beginning to the due diligence period ending, making sure the due diligence period is moving forward, et cetera. Sometimes those smaller EMDs just it really isn't worth the opportunity cost for my money to be held that long. But so once that process is approved, then we fund. I get on the phone with the title company, make sure that I do my due diligence to vet the title company and make sure that they're real life, because there's some scammers out there. And that's I've heard some horror stories about people getting scammed or almost getting scammed. It's terrifying. And so we want to be as fast as possible. And then we want to be as clear as possible with the title company. I funded 4 EMDs today myself. 2 of the EMDs was the same title company, so that helped out. That was made it easy to vet. And then once it's funded, we just kind of sit and we check in every so often, depending on the timelines. And once it's completely closed, we're made whole at the end with the end buyer's financing or cash. And then you want me to move on to the double closing submission process?
That sounds good, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, question?
Say it's $2,000 in EMD. So we would be giving them $250 upfront
Alright.
for a $2,000 deposit. Is he charging them another $1,000?
That's so that was my question. Like, what if the deposit is okay, 1,000, whatever it is, you're charging $250 up front. What's the total we're paying for your EMD money? How much
Oh,
if you put it?
I didn't even cover that, did I? I didn't even cover that. My apologies. So yeah, typical return on virtually any EMD that we charge is 40% return. So if you're looking at like a $5,000 EMD, we fund $5,000 for you. At closing, we get back 7. So that's
Along with
along with the 250 or minus, so the total. So you get back 7 or you get back 7,250. The 250 up front, is that included in the 7?
that's just the cost of doing business. And to be honest with you, that's the biggest discussion point in this process, unfortunately. And I get it. It would be so much easier for people to, for me to fund money and have people, not have any skin in the game. However, through this process, we've learned that EMDs, the typical close rate for EMDs that we fund, it's a coin flip. Honestly, it's about a 50% return. And so we're spending a lot of time and a lot of energy, for nothing. And so essentially the 250 is to pay my TC, because she's the one that manages everything and make sure that all the timelines are accurate. So to answer your question, yeah, the 250 is a non-refundable fee. I don't want that to be a deterrent for you not to work with me. I definitely reward consistency. If we're doing deals, I'm like, look, hey, let's change that 250. It's not a huge issue. So definitely open to negotiate, but you look at my website, that's what it says is the 250 upfront.
So if it closes, so you've done the EMD, you've gotten the 5,000. If you're doing the transaction, how much are you getting paid on the transactional? And are you also getting the $2,000 on the EMD? Or the 40% on the EMD? Or is it two separate activities for you? They're coming to you for EMD and they're coming to you for transactional? Or is it, hey, you're doing your whole deal with me, I'm not going to hit you as hard on the EMD? So first question is on the transactional lending, how long do they double close? The double close, how long do they keep, how long is your money out the door? How long is it with the title company? And how much are you charging for that?
Sure. You're talking EMD?
No, for the transactional money, for the double close money, how long?
Okay.
For the transactional, how long and how much?
Sure. Yeah, double closing, transactional funding, that ideally is same day. And we fund, let's say $200,000 for a double close, and we charge just 1.5 points on something like $200,000, and there's no upfront fee for double closings. That's as safe of a deal as you can get at, but there's also a risk involved as well. So 1.5 points, we fund $1 million double closes as well. Those rates will probably be in the twos, honestly, anything $1 million and above, but we try to keep it fair and reasonable with being around 1.5% per double close. And it's usually same day. Some places, some states hold your money for 1 day and have it record, and then it gets returned the next day.
No, but go smaller. This is not a $250,000 $1 million market. This is a 56. So when you're talking those lower deals, what are you doing?
The lower deals?
Yeah. Around here sell for $250,000 when they're done. They don't start at $250,000. So if you're doing a 50,000, you're doing something in that range. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's still 1.5 points.
1.5 points, okay. And if we also do the EMD for you, is it 40% of the EMD plus the 1.5 points?
Oh no.
So okay.
No, 40% for EMD, 1.5% for double closings. Two separate.
If you get both pieces of business, we pay them as if we're doing two separate companies. If you get the EMD business and you get the double close business, are we paying both fees, or is there a combined reduction in the fee?
No, I can definitely reduce and waive the upfront fee if we're doing kind of a front and a back end deal. But the EMD, the EMD is 40, and then double close is 1.5. And we could work out some, Steve, with any members of this community. We could work out kind of a sweetheart deal.
Okay.
I'd be happy to discuss a little bit more about that.
Right. And what is yeah, I mean, okay, I mean, we for whatever reason, a lot of times, not a lot, but sometimes it comes up for us where one party can come in on Monday, the other party comes in on Wednesday. Like, do you have a not more than 5 days, not more than 3 days, not more than whatever days?
For the double closings?
Yeah. Yes, double close. Yeah, I mean, of course, the money never leaves the title company, but if the calendar just has to be such a, or one party comes in on Friday, the other party comes in on Monday. That's, it's 1 day in the business world, it's 3 days in the real world.
Sure. And the question is there any additional fees for it to be held?
Yeah, like any additional fees, or do you have a policy like, well, another transaction like when I don't do transactional a lot, but for me a lot of times I'll say, if it has to be 3 days, 4 days, I'll live with that. After 3 or 4, I start to wonder what's going on behind the curtain. But
So
for that, like,
Yeah, my big policy with double closings is the end buyer's funds or the end financing has to already be there or with title. I won't wire anything until I know and I get confirmation from title that the end buyer's financing is there. If both financing is there, and because of to check off some boxes locally or legally, it has to, season, I guess, for a certain amount of days, then great. I mean, there's no additional fees or anything, but a double closing is essentially, in and then out. um, and I won't fund until that end buyer's funds are in. That's the biggest stipulation. Now, if they need me to fund first and wait on those funds to come in, that's not a double closing in my mind.
All right,
I
yeah,
hope
the
that
only time
answers
I've
the
ever-
question.
yeah, the only time I've ever seen that is there are a couple, and I don't know if you see that out here. There's one money lender I know that they won't fund until the home's in the name effectively of the wholesaler. But as I've explained to every wholesaler, that becomes a real danger game. Because if we fund you and then the other side doesn't happen for some reason, but at least that's one of those asset-based lending companies. I can at least get a certification that it's going to close. They say, listen, all we're waiting for is one line item. But that's not where you go. That's not. Pretty much every other lender, the money will be there. The title company says, yeah, we're good. We just need to see the tax. Yeah. I imagine getting you in touch with the title company as early as possible, but I'm sure very rarely are you in touch with the title company as soon as the title starts. They probably come to you a little later in the process, right?
Oh yeah, sometimes too late, even like past contractual dates and stuff. I'm like, and then I'll have to be like, hey, how come EMD wasn't deposited 3 days ago when it said it was? Like, the vetting process is pretty strict and stringent on my end. But yeah, getting in touch with title can only benefit you in order for us to work together. So
And the reason a title company would say no. I mean, if the title company's okay with the double closing, I'm assuming you're more of a savior than a problem. I can't imagine a title.
What problems has he run into with some title?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting. Like, have you had title companies say, "Oh no, we're okay with the double closing, but we hate people who do the units"? Oh, you mean the EMD side, not the.
The red flags that we would interview a title company to say, oh, this is not gonna work, we're gonna have to go.
You hearing that?
Or if he has a summary, like a punch list of what he expects for us to give to the title company to say, before we order this title, are you on board with what we're doing?
So basically, if you got some way that we can vet the title company, or we can say to them, "Hey, our plan is to use this service. Here's what this service is going to want to do." Does that scare off the title company, or does that scare off?
And if it's out, for what reason? Why would they?
Yeah, and if for some reason title companies are scared, why have they been scared, or why have they been problem, or is it
That's
more
a-
than you didn't?
That's a good question. And I don't know if I know the answer to it. What I've learned being in this business is not every title company is created equal. Not every title company runs by the same rules. Rules at some title companies aren't rules at another title company. Even state legislation, like Pennsylvania, by the book, you know, come January 1, wholesaling will be, pretty difficult or illegal. There's other states out there that are already in these positions, and some title companies haven't really followed suit, to be straightforward with you. Now I'm all about being above board and following the laws and everything. That's why, I'm a service to these wholesalers. But I do have a list of essentially creative wholesale friendly title companies all over the country that we've worked with, and also blacklisted for that reason as well. So depending on where you're at, we can at least tell you, hey, this is who we've worked with in the past. And this is the contact. I can vouch for them that they know what they're doing. That's what we have in place. We don't, I mean, a punch list of vetting questions would be very helpful. So that's something that I'll bring up at our next meeting.
Just so you know, and everybody here knows, so what the law in Pennsylvania says, and it's February 8th or February 10th, I've read both.
Is that right?
It's 180 days after Shapiro signed it in February on July 8th, and they call it 180 days. But I thought it wasn't a calendar, maybe that's a weekend, or that's why. What? February 2025.
Well, I thought it was October 1st of this year.
I mean, what in the world?
But I could be doing wholesaling now. The wholesaling. you're talking
Yeah,
about. I thought it was October 1st of this.
that would be the first I've ever read that. It was in the law, it says 180 days from passing, and passing is legally when the governor signs.
Is he signing it?
Signed it on July 8th. The House passed it in May. The Senate, Senate passed it in May, House passed it in, no. Senate passed it in May, House passed it in May, June. Try to make sure this thing was plowed right through, even though it's not a good law for anybody. It does not protect the consumer. But it means certain forms of vacant land, 1 through 5 units. I think 5, I forget whether 5 is in or out. Those have to be handled by a licensed real estate agent. And for those of you who are wholesaling in the area to say, oh, gee, I'll just have a whole real estate agent. The problem is, if you're an unlicensed wholesaler, once I'm involved, you can't show it, you can't talk to buyers, you can't talk to sellers, you can't negotiate. So you're either licensed or not getting your penny, because I'm doing most of the work. But what's scary in the law is that the seller there's no requirement that you tell the seller you're being paid less, he's being paid less for his property. But anyway, I know it's being written, I was talking to some friends of this, but the seller has 30 days from the day of signing, up until the day of closing. Seller can be walking into the closing table and say, nope, doing it. Walk right up. Have no
You have to disclose that to them.
You have to disclose that. You have to include in the contract that they have 30 days, that they have the right of appraisal, that they have this, that they have that. And the law is written, any sale of equity for money before you close it is considered a wholesale. Novation, tax. Assignment, tax. Cost level counts. Counts.
And do you have to do the double transfer tax?
Well, so that's a whole different, that's now, assignments will count as double transfer tax if your title company is paying attention to the law. Most of them don't. I have a whole consulting agreement, replacement contract, and so on, you guys separately on that gets around that. But it becomes a pain in the butt. And to his point, there are title companies that play ball, and there are title companies that won't. I know one title company right now that I can recommend. I know this guy personally. It's a great company, very good firm, but they'll do double closing without paying side money, which is actually, from what I understand, not the way the law is.
Without what?
So you won't need this to use him, but
Use the buyers.
But I don't allow that, because when he explained his process, that there's no way that's legal, eventually that's gonna blow up in your face. But even with him, I'm gonna use my own money, or transactional money, or some money, because it just, from what I know about the law. Whatever, you don't need to be licensed.
Oh,
You're wholesaling larger stuff, you don't need yet to be licensed. They're worried about granting.
so anything over 5 units?
Yeah, and if it's over 5 or 5 and over.
Four.
What?
Residential 1 to 4.
I forget if it's 5, but the point is, if you're in that small field, And at the end of the day, you might as well be licensed. This is one reason I'm focusing my brokerage firm on going after wholesale. I want you guys. EXP wants you the hell out of your house. Everybody wants you the hell out of your house. We want to, or if you're with a firm like Century 21 that doesn't want wholesaling, we'll pay you 40% referral. But this is where you need the transactional lending. You need that ability to double close. And this is where it gets tricky, according to the PAR legal hotline. And I said, well, what about double closing? He's like, look, if we start seeing you advertise the property and we know you haven't closed on it, you can come up whatever you want. We're going to call it sale of equity for money. And if you don't have a wholesale contract, we're going to call it illegal and we're going to call it state court on you. It's like, because if you don't own the deed, the only thing you own is the equity, you're trying to resell the equity, you're selling equity for money. So if you're going to close on something, own it, then list it, you're safe. If you're gonna not give a wholesale contract, close it, and try to advertise it, while it's under escrow, okay, maybe you're safe. I don't know. That'd be the open question. But I just want to kind of make sure that you also kind of knew where Pennsylvania is coming from. Is they're aiming at the small, the 1 through 5s of whatever, and they are. National PAR had written a law, 2 laws that never got out of the Attorney General's office because that's how bad. Then the State House released their own law, which was a poor clone even of Philadelphia law, and PAR jumped on it, tried to and made it happen. And I'm not saying we needed regulation. You guys know you've heard me say that for years, but this law right now is one of the reasons you're going to need more double closing. Is that you just don't. Sorry, I didn't mean to kind of go off there, but yeah.
No, it's great.
Any other questions? Yeah. Okay, can we have some macaroni? Some macaroni? Okay. Any other questions, guys? All right, thank you, man. So we got your information.
Yeah, please reach out to me. That's my Blink card right there. Has all my connected with me on online on Instagram. It's got my Instagram on there. Yeah, would love to see you guys reach out and let you know that, hey, I was at Steve's meetup and connect.
All right, thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Seth. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Very useful stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.